यार ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਸ਼ਾਨਦਾਰ ਲੱਗ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ
मैं तो बुशर्ट पाई है सर आज
ਕੋਈ ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵਾਹ
Zoom call नहीं मैं क्या जरा
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅੰਡਰ ਡਰੈਸ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ
Yeah.
तो बहुत good है
Yeah.
I think we're all ready to yeah, are we all good? Can we all hear each other?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I know Junaid is in Dubai. Jimmy, where are you?
I'm in Karachi at the
You're
moment.
in Karachi, and Rakae?
I'm in Lahore.
In Lahore. Okay,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
And
you.
you guys are in New York, yeah?
We're in New York City. I'm Kiran and this is Rez.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you guys.
And I'll just mention that, of course, I speak Urdu, Punjabi, but Rez is mostly an English guy.
Okay.
That's fine.
English and
We
music.
got ya. We got you, Rez.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Man.
we got you. We like to speak English more.
He's the Pakistani, but I read and write Urdu and speak it.
Oh wow.
Okay, nice.
But if you want to speak Urdu, I'll just keep nodding my head. So don't worry. That's what I do when I'm around her parents, you know. And
He knows like 3 words. He knows Thella.
Sorry, what is that? What is that again?
I'll put my speaker. He knows 3 words. One of them is Thella. And what's the other word?
they don't call that thela in Lahore, they call it shapar
Chopper.
Okay.
shapar कह रहे हैं shapar
अच्छा
shop.
Too good. Nice.
Okay. Nice. Sorry, I'm just trying to find some stability here.
All right, just it's okay. We can laugh. It's fine and be casual. So okay. So this is guys, what happened is that we were supposed to have 2 of our collaborators today on this call from Calcutta, but unfortunately they're not here because of the cyclone that's just currently hitting them. So we hope there's and we'll get back.
Yeah, what happened? I mean,
There's a cyclone. There's a cyclone which is just the eye has just passed Calcutta apparently just now. So they don't have electricity and stuff like that, but we'll get back with them. You know, we'll do a conversation with them a little later on. But I just wanted to welcome everybody tonight. I'll make some introductions. My name is Raania. I am the artistic director of Salt Arts and co-founder. Today we have 6 of us actually. And there's Junaid Iqbal, who is also co-founder and chairperson for Salt Arts. Then from New York, we have Kiran Ahluwalia and Abbasi. From Lahore, there's Rakae Jamil. And from Karachi, but almost from Lahore, is Amphan.
yeah.
Originally from Lahore.
Literally. So we're kind of celebrating South Asian music and our relationships across South Asia as an organization, all the work that we've done in the past that's focused on that. And this time we're kind of still in lockdown, obviously, all around the world, and that seemed to have opened up a lot of opportunities for us to work with artists in other countries.
Yeah.
And really kind of move beyond our usual ways of working with the live audiences. And now, since we're live online, it's a great opportunity to talk to each other. You know, Junaid and I earlier were talking about we never get a chance to do this. We talk to artists a lot, but we really never get a chance to be together and have a meaningful conversation about our work. So this is specific for the Eid programming that we're doing, and we wanted people to stay at home in South Asia. You know, the South Asian public struggles with self-management a lot, and currently everybody's just like ready to run out and go out, and we are very spirited people, and we shared that. But you know, as artists and creative people, we would like to encourage our audiences and people at home to enjoy themselves at home. And so with that, I'd like to open the conversation, and maybe we can start with Junaid. Junaid, if you can talk a little bit about your role, the organization, and and then we can go ahead with the artists, Kiran and Jimmy and Rakae.
Sure.
Thank you, Rania, and it is so good to be with Kiran, Rez, and Rakae and Jimmy, who are I mean very much part of the Salt Arts family. We're all partners in crime.
Yeah.
And so my role is I serve as the chairperson for Salt Arts. I try to support Rania on matters relating to strategy or finance, the non-creative part of work which you don't see as the output, which goes around in the background. And our background is that Rania and I are very old friends, with childhood friends. We went to school together, and we performed on Fairs Day and Iqbal Day together, and that bond about Urdu literature, that bond with music, that continued to grow. And Rania later on, trained to be an artist, trained to be a musician, and I used to keep bugging her back in the days in about 2013, 2014, and I used to keep saying, "Yeah, Rania music karte hain, Rania music karte hain." And one day we're standing at the Creative Karachi Festival, and I say this to her again, "Rania music karte hain," and at that time there was music playing in the background, live music, and she's like, "Main kar to rahi hu." So, and then I said, "Please, aise nahi." And then that led to a series of conversations and circumstances going on top of their head. That's a story for another time. And then around late summer of 2015 is when we started talking. October 2015 is when we started.
Yeah.
And 100 shows down and a beautiful journey later, and still continuing. And here we are today.
Wow.
Cheers to that.
100 shows, yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers to that.
Thank you.
Yes,
You know, it
100.
seems like we
Amazing.
finished our 100th show. Rather, the last 9 shows that we did were all online. And at that
Online.
point, one had not thought about didn't think this would happen. We also, the core purpose of our work is to create paying audiences for the arts in Pakistan, in South Asia, because we really think that the ecosystem around the arts needs to be developed. So, just talking about that, Rakae and Jimmy have worked with Salt Arts for a number of years. We have done a lot of different shows together, tours together, and it's really awesome to have that kind of support from artists, especially during this time. I'd just like to point out, none of the artists during the lockdown programming have charged artist fees. They have been really, supportive in making sure that audiences are not left without anything to do or engage with.
Yeah.
I'd like to move to Kiran for a few moments. Kiran, can
Yeah.
you talk about your work and talk about your South Asian legacy, both of you together? It's a really unusual combination, and it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is beautiful, that's for sure. So Rez and I create music that is steeped in tradition, steeped in my training in Indian classical music and ghazal, and Rez's training in jazz.
Western music mostly.
Yeah. And we bring it into a modern context with a modern sensibility. And I write the words and the music, and Rez arranges it. And one of there are Western influences in our songs with guitar, bass, and drum kit. We still have tabla. There's one main global influence also in our songs, and that is the influence of Tuareg music, which is the music, which is Western Saharan blues. And we love that kind of music. We collaborated with Tinariwen on a classic Pakistani qawwali, Mast Mast. And then before that, I was influenced by them, and I was composing with that influence. And then we did that with them. We did Mast Mast with them. And then that influence has never really left us, never really left me. And I continue to compose with that influence.
Talking about blues, so I know that both you and Kiran, you and Jimmy both write in Punjabi. some of your original work is in Punjabi, and I think what I love about Jimmy's singing and style is that it's so fluent in so many languages, but the songwriting specifically in Punjabi is very exciting. It's very interesting because of the expression and the nuance, but also that Jimmy's musical style. We wrote about it recently in the copy. Commented on Titch Button, this original song, Jimmy, that you've done, which is a Punjabi song. But can you talk about it, your musical influences, and you talk about how you're interested in the Western sort of country kind of sound, but also the blues in a sense.
Yeah. So I mean, so growing up, I was listening to a lot of folk artists from the West and the East. I think essentially it's and when I started playing a lot of Western music and performing a lot of Western music as well. When my forte kind of became country Western rhythms, because I'm not much of a guitar player, but my choice of instrument has been a guitar. So my natural rhythm kind of that I got a hold of after listening to and after being absorbed in my influences was a very country Western kind of rhythm that I have over the years incorporated in my songwriting, and it's kind of become the identity of how I'm writing my tunes at this particular point, and since a few years. And Titch Batna Di Jodi was one of the attempts to doing something of the sort, where I incorporated storytelling, which was also the kind of songwriting lyrically was also inspired by some of the Western artists. So I wanted to write like it needed to be a story in Punjabi, and that's what I wrote in arrangement and lyrically the song, and I put those together with of course Punjabi being the core language of that song. So that was the story of Titch Batna Di Jodi. But my general influences have been the same as you guys, where I have connected with the East and the West, and I've picked up things from both disciplines of music, whatever has resonated with me, and I think I've tried to recreate something of my own using them.
And the question then appears is, how does South Asian music, contemporary South Asian music, meet the world? And how do we work outside of the stereotypes, right? Like, so I just want to move to Rakae. Rakae is based in Lahore. Rakae is a classically trained sitar player and a wonderful vocalist. He doesn't sing as much, but is a wonderful vocalist. And Rakae also is the frontman for a band called Mughal Funk, which is, I would say, South Asian fusion funk. Everybody here has really talked about how they have multiple influences in their contemporary South Asian sound. So Rakae, what's your experience been, and how's your music forming right now? What are your
I think it's been quite a interesting journey. There's been a lot of influences starting from my childhood. I was very much into Beatles, and my brother actually used to make me listen to a lot of contemporary, like Western music, like Beatles and even Rolling Stones for that matter, and then like some ballad type music and stuff like that. Sarah McLachlan, बचपन में मैं 8 साल की उम्र में मैं सुनता था. So then that, and then of course when I sort of grew up gradually, like I was exposed a lot to my grandfather's institute, Santanagar Institute here in Lahore. So usme I would get to hear a lot of classical, South Asian classical artists or North Indian music ke jo artists hote hain. So usme sitar was the main instrument that I would be exposed to. My khala used to play first of all, and then my other khala played this sagar veena instrument. But my first teacher was Ustad Ashraf Sharif Khan. He was the person he was really young at the time. So it was really easy to learn from him. When I started playing the sitar, of course, it wasn't my idea. It was my parents who was like, nahi, ye seekho, ye saaz seekho. So फिर मैंने कहा चलो मैं सीख लेता हूँ, but he made it a lot of fun. So that's why I think I managed to stick to it. And then of course, on the other side of the spectrum were my cousins Ali Noor and Ali Hamza, who were sort of, the main like sort of modern music influences in my life. So whenever I'd go visit them, Ali Noor would sort of show me how he's making songs on a computer. I was like, what? This is crazy. So and he had all of these sounds, and he just put them together and make a song. And I was like, I want to do this as well. So then I sort of tried to do both together throughout my years, and then eventually, but my main, of course, learning was in classical music and in South Asian classical music. And for that, I spent a lot of time in India as well. I used to learn from Ustad Shujat Khan. I used to go to his house, and he was so welcoming that I just go stay there. And he also knew my khala, and he also used to teach her. So he would also welcome me into the family, and we'd have these lessons 2 hours a day. And we just listen to him, and then he'd be like, just practice whatever I've taught you for a week. We'll go on to the next lesson. So that's how it is. It's like 10% of lessons and 90% of practice. And then I guess the main sort of climatic part of the journey was going to Kolkata and staying at the Sangeet Research Academy. And that's where I spent about 9 months learning from, there was Pandit Ajay Chakrabarti, there was Pandit Ulhas Kashalkar, the late Pandit Buddhadev Das Gupta, who was a sarod player. So I would, learn those vocal lessons and try to, play them on the sitar. And basically that's, from then onwards, it was more about trying to create your own sound after that. Where, when I sort of got experience in production, then my thing was geared towards trying to create a more modern sound, or a very like my own sound, in terms of trying to put together lots of different kinds of pieces from different musical genres and mixing them up a bit. And I think that sort of amalgamated to the band Mughal Funk, where I got to meet all these great musicians, with Kami Paul, Farhan Ali on the bass, and Kami Paul on the drums, and Rufus on the keys. And that started in 2015, and then we sort of had our first concert in 2017. And I think that music is basically a blend of bandishes, some of them that are composed by ourselves, and then some that are taken from performances that we've heard from before. So then we just sort of fuse it into this kind of music that is our own, basically. And I think that's what made it so special. And that's where you guys, gave your support for that, and you gave us that platform and that opportunity to share that music. We never thought that, people would listen to this stuff. We were like, oh, it's too abstract. And we're like, no, people would rather listen to Jimmy Khan and his music, which is easier and more like palpable for the ear.
On Eid, we have like quite a variety of shows online for everybody to listen to. But I think we underestimate our audiences a lot, right? And then we really underestimate audiences.
That everyone is so open to listening to all kinds of music and new and fresh music. And the good thing is that we all work with Jimmy as well.
Yeah. What's going on, guys?
It's a lot of fun.
You guys, Jimmy and Rakae also work together a lot, and have, in fact, not only in live shows, but have also released some music together, which is based on social impact. So it would be, do look it up. But I wanted to talk a little bit. So Rakae just talked about his years in Calcutta. And here we are talking already about like boundaries, right? We're talking about cross-border connections. Seems like the right time to jump in and also talk about our partners in Kolkata who are currently going through a cyclone, who are not here. But this is the first time they're trying it out as well. They're setting up an online festival of mixed media arts, and it's kind of like setting a precedent in South Asia for paid live arts viewership.
Yeah.
So Rakae is actually doing the closing act for that festival on Eid weekend, and it will be aired specifically for Indian and international audiences. So we wish them all the best. But while we're talking about borders, Kiran, would you like to share with both Rakae and Jimmy your story of Lahore, of your father's journey? It's such a beautiful story. Kiran shared it with me a while back when we were talking about our work together. And that really, that story really captures our joint history as South Asians. Because I think we react to the same kind of emotions, whether in art or in relationships or in music or in the way that, you know, we exist as communities. So would love to hear your story, Kiran.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my mom and my dad both were in pre-partition Pakistan. My mom was in Lahore, my dad was in Rawalpindi. They were children and they both crossed the border during Pakistan. And they were definitely witness to the atrocities that happened during that time. And they told me a little bit about it when I was growing up, but they never passed down any hatred for, you know, the other side, them being in post-partition India. There was never any hatred that I grew up with, which is why it was possible for me to fall in love with and do music with and marry Rez, who is a Pakistani-born person.
Yeah.
And so, oh, did you want to say something?
No, I guess my parents were the same.
Yeah. His father was in pre-partition India. Yeah, they also saw partition. And of course, partition, they did tell me about it, and I wasn't around then, but it resonates with me as well because it is a loss of brotherhood and a loss of sisterhood that I feel in my generation as well. So in 2002, I was invited with my group to go play in Lahore in a festival that was put on by the Pirzada brothers. And so this was going to be my second time, right, in Pakistan. I had been there before. And so I thought, okay, I'll take my dad and then I'll try to find his ancestral home in Rawalpindi. So I took my dad, we did our 3 concerts in Lahore, and after that, we traveled to Rawalpindi, and we hired a taxi driver, and we went to the location which my dad, as a 9-year-old, remembered. And we were stopping people in that locality, and we were describing, like, यहाँ पे ऐसे खालसा school होता था, तो यहाँ पे ऐसी दीवार होती थी, क्या वो घर अभी भी है? And after speaking to a number of people, the people found this old school teacher, and he came outside of the house and he said, yes, I remember this. Khalsa school ke aage ghar hota tha. And it took us about an hour, but we actually found the house. We found the back of the house, and it was the same wall. And we went around and we knocked on the door and we went inside. And this whole time I got my camcorder like running, you know, to make like a whole movie out of it. And we went inside, and the lady who was there had inherited the house from her father. So he was the original owner after my father's family had moved away. And we explained who we were, you know, and who my father was. And she looked at my father and she said, "Main aapki intezar kar rahi thi." And it still makes my eyes swell up because it was such an emotional moment. And my dad was telling me that hum kothe pe the, and he was just 9 years old, and he was there with his elder brothers. and they would gather bottles and stones, anything that they could throw to the mob if the mob would come. And then finally, his parents, who were at that time over on the India side, they said that, you know, let's get the children over here to the India side for a couple of months until the violence stops. And so my dad with his brothers went over on a train, you know, thinking that he would come back to his house in 2 months. And, you know, 45 years later, he returned with his daughter. And my dad he's a scientist, he's a microbiologist. So he's not really like a shishi-frou-frou, like he's not like a touchy-feely kind of guy, but to see him that emotional. And then he asked, "Wahan pe kuan hota tha jab wo wahan pe chote the." So that well was still there, and he asked the lady auntie if he could take some of the dharti from there, if he could take some of the mitti from the well, take back to Canada with him. And so I'm still in touch with that family. And I was just telling them on Facebook yesterday that we're going to be doing this live stream concert for Eid, and they're all going to be tuning in.
Nice.
From Facebook to from partition to Facebook.
What a powerful story.
Yeah.
Emotional.
It's quite emotional, and I think, you know, we bonded over this story at the time when Kiran and I were talking about this. Was when Saltas was also producing our 100th show with Meera Hashmi, and she was reading the letters of Alice Faiz to Faiz Ahmed Faiz in prison, and that's around the same time when Kiran and I were speaking, and you know, we were sort of, you know, and it's just very hard to ignore that for South Asian musicians, and not only musicians, for all of us as artists and creative people. You know, our emotions are so connected to each other, and you know, I think that the digital space and that freedom is really allowing us to cherish that and celebrate that right now. So, you know, after Kiran's story, we wanted to just go around the group a little bit and maybe talk about our experiences with other South Asian artists and what we see happening now. You know, a little bit about that. I know none of us are in that space where we want to predict anything or say anything because we really can't process it, frankly. But as artists, you know, we all have a creative journey. For me specifically, creative health has been the most important thing right now, like prioritizing that, like how do we keep creatively healthy? So I don't know, what are you guys doing? How's your music evolving right now? How's your work evolving? Or is it? At this point.
Well, who goes first?
Yeah, who goes first?
I think Rakae does. Rakae is like, who goes first? So, yeah.
Okay, fine. I guess evolving, I hope. Right now, it's just, there's a lot of uncertainty, obviously, but recently I did a track that I just released with Raania. I think that sort of opened up this idea of trying to explore that side of, you know, singing and producing those kinds of compositions. And that way, that's something I'd want to explore. The other thing is working with Ali Hamza and Kami Paul. We've been working on Ali Hamza's album, and that has, you know, we sort of delved more into that side of production. And trying to see what works, you know, in the current era, you know, in terms of sound and songwriting and arrangement and things like that. But I feel like the other thing is that I've been able to do is also explore playing the Sur Bahar. It's a bass sitar that I've been, you know, that's something that I've wanted to play more than the sitar, but it's also a tougher instrument in terms of creating those nuances where it could be applicable to the kind of music that I do with my band or the kind of music that we do commercially in that sense. But, you know, it's something I'm exploring as well. So I don't think it's right to close that door. I think, keep on exploring that. So in that sense, and because of lockdown, it's sort of pushed me to try and explore those boundaries of classical music, of our own music, a bit more. So that's my.
I'd love to hear that. The bass guitar. That's an amazing.
There's a video that's up on as part of the Eid content where Rakae is playing Rag Mehdi, I think, on the Surah.
Yeah, maybe.
You can have a look at that. I think what Rakae, kind of like translating a little bit of that into my own experience. I think it's been a very introspective time, and there's definitely been waves of up and down, kind of like and I think as a creative person, to maximize on that good vibes is kind of really essential. But certainly from the Salt Arts perspective, we are very clear that it is definitely an introspective time and a time to create really pure, honest, gentle work that is from the heart. Kiran, you were saying something.
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just asking Raz if he had anything. You've been actually kind of being Raz. I think I'm gonna like. Have you been creating outside of music, like doing other things, or that was one of your goals, right?
No, I don't know.
Do something else, like
to go outside and get a coffee. Yes, I mean, something very simple.
I learned how to cycle.
We finally did, like 4 days ago. This coffee place finally opened up, and we've been barely going out and running back.
I love coffee.
It's crazy, but I think it's only been a couple months, and I think whether we all know it or not, we're still processing it because we don't. I mean, the first couple weeks I did nothing, literally. I mean, I just sat there like a zombie. This was in March, and because the transition from being able to go outside in New York City, imagine it's like being in Bombay or something, Mumbai or Karachi, one of these big cities. To not be able to go out and just sit home, that was a weird transition right there. And for about a month, I started becoming inspired to do things and write solo guitar music and all that, what we've all been doing, our solo project. But that kind of went by the wayside also. So, it's sort of a roller, it's sort of a roller coaster ride for now. And, it's a matter of time to see where we head with it, at least I can only say for myself, but there's no massive projects. I have a new record coming out, so I've been making videos, things like that. But this hasn't bolstered any new massive project that I can think of based on a lockdown.
I do think it is. I think it's stirring emotional honesty with one's creative work and creative direction for sure. Because I think anything that's not emotionally honest in terms of creativity is not sustainable at this time at all. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I just keep thinking about that, right? Like, like you said, you were sitting around like a zombie, right? For the first 2 weeks. I mean, so was I. I think a lot of us were like that. And I think the only respite is from oneself. Is from oneself, right? Like the only freedom is from oneself. And Junaid is like, it does a lot of interesting practices outside of his, professional financial world and technology world, So maybe Junaid's actually doing a lot of enrichment during this period,
Please share that.
Thank you for. I mean, this has been an interesting time, right? And I'll share a little bit about how it has been for me personally, and then how it has been for us at Salt Arts. And I think personally, so my typical reaction is to solve and then get going. So after the first few days of this lockdown, the reaction one was I have to make a schedule. And I have to be productive. So, if I'm going to do calls, I'll still wake up and shower before those calls. And at this time, I'll stop working and I'll work out, blah, blah, blah. So that helped put some sort of a wrapper on the situation. So the first 1 or 2 weeks went by. Then the second wave came on. And the second wave was, and that's when the fear was building up, right? So the fear factor, what's the worst that can happen? So I was like, okay, let's internalize this. So I thought to myself, what's the worst that can happen is myself or a loved one could potentially get infected and die. Like, well, what if I die, right? So it was an interesting take on one's own mortality. And I started thinking that, what if I find out that I have 3 weeks to live? What will I do? And when I started, you think about it, it's really just two things. You will connect with family and friends, and you will do charity, or you will help people, right? So you realize it's very simple. The third wave, which came a few weeks later, was, you know what, sooner or later, whether it's 2 weeks or 8 weeks, this thing will be over. Will I look back and regret not doing certain things during this time? So that regret phase kicked in. So there was a lot more. Then there was a lot more reading. There was a lot more listening to music, and I keep bothering Raania with this. I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar. I bought a guitar last August, so I started practicing a little more.
Good.
And so still going through that phase.
Where are you at now?
And then -2 out of 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, -2.
I don't know about like. No, Jimmy, we'll have to have a separate call about that, Jimmy. About the level of negative. So, there's like in South Asia, this is something we struggle with quite often. And as producers or as creative producers, as an organization that is producing seasons, we also get a lot of negative commentary for doing things that appear more commercially palatable.
Right.
Has taken the greatest, deepest hit. It is your, it is a joint effort, right? Like it's a combined effort. And what always amazes me, about the Pakistani audience, even though in Karachi, ticketed shows are what sustain our work, let's say, is the ticket amount, it's too high, and it's too this, and it's too that. But the fact of the matter is, it is that ticket money that pays for everybody who's on that set, including the artist that is charging a fee. So, actually it is
we lost you for a second, Raania.
We lost you, yeah.
Yeah, we lost you for a bit. But you've cultivated.
I'll send you a recording.
Yeah.
I'll send you a recording, because I think that was like it was like my big solution. But thank you for doing this. We're going to be editing this video and compressing it a little bit to put online. We'll take out stories from this, and but it was really nice to actually talk about all of this with you guys and get to know you a bit better.
We're totally looking forward to catching both of your shows.
Yeah, definitely.
Jimmy and
it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah,
that's all. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But
our parents will be watching as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
We'll tell them
wonderful.
Both sides.
Sorry.
Excellent.
I said our parents will be watching as well, both sides, and hopefully more people, more of our fans will also watch, and hopefully we'll share audiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hoping
That'll be amazing.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's all pray that COVID season is not seasonal.
Oh my God!
You're making COVID season. I was like, COVID season, that means it's seasonal.
And fast.
I said that. I could not believe I said, "Oh yeah, during COVID." I was like, "Oh God."
Let's just hope it's not.
It's okay. New music will come out.
That's inevitable, yeah.
Look at the silver lining, right?
All right, guys.
Focus on that.
Thanks, guys.
All right.